Difference between integration and racial equality.
Racial equity. Yeah. Sorry. So what I had a conversation with a woman on our board at the time, who was a Latina woman, and she, as we were talking, she said, I just want to step back a minute and question. Are you saying that integration is the goal? And I said, well, we're not saying that. We're trying to figure out exactly what we are saying. She said, because I want to push you on this. When I hear the word integration, I hear winners and losers, and the winners never look like me. And it was one of those moments that just very much like a record scratch of like, okay, so I think we need to reframe this as, if you think about it, Tom, think about like schools that are racially mixed, but they don't have equitable outcomes, or even a town that might be diverse, but who ends up getting arrested the most, pulled over the most, any number of things, right? You can have a diverse space. That doesn't mean the outcomes are equitable for people. So if the goal needs to be equity by race and by income, not just that their people are mixed together in the same space. It's two different things, right? So let's be really specific about what we mean. And if in fact people, and I also want to say this part really clearly, any of this work that we were doing is not to say that there's something wrong with majority Black or majority brown spaces, or that people in those spaces should want to move and get out of those neighborhoods. It is to say that it's easier and more efficient to discriminate against people of color when you can draw a line around them and say, I'm going to give predatory loans to everyone in this neighborhood, right? Which is how it shows up today. And so that's one. And number two is, I just want people to have choices. If your best choice for you and your household is to stay right where you are and move up the economic ladder where you are, then let's make sure we're giving you good options to do that. And if you're someone who finds, I had actually really like to move because my job is now somewhere else, because my kid got into a school somewhere that I want to be closer to, any number of things, I want to make sure you have the option to do that if that's the best thing for your household. So that led us to answer number two, which was, what do we do about it? Essentially, we work to become a more racially equitable region. So one pillar of that was to say, here's ways that government, private sector, NGOs can embrace a racial equity framework, which basically means I'm going to examine all my outcomes by race and other ways you can marginalize folks. And if they're not equitable, I got to fix it. And then we had a bunch of pillars. We had education, we had economic development, and of course we had a housing pillar, which, given my background, I was the lead on. And that was where we laid out a bunch of very specific things to do to achieve racial equity in housing. And that's what we then briefed the candidates for mayor on, because that came out in 2018 and we were gearing up to a big mayoral election.